A lot in communities we've broken down where people are isolated, especially in a rural environment like we've got around us. People are not part of the communities. The ideal community to me would be something where everyone's included, they know about the community, they feel positive about it, and that people aren't lonely. I think that's really important. Over 20 years ago, I lost my business and I went bankrupt and lost my home, went into a depression. I used to walk along the lanes in roads, seeing little daisies popping through the tarmac and forcing their way up, and I used to think, how do they do that? And I felt like I wish I could have been that little daisy pushing its way through the tarmac. And I felt I didn't belong anywhere. And through lots of help and support by various different people and going on to different training, I now feel like I have pushed through, and I want to help people as well find the support so that they can push through and become part of something and not be on their own. And so that's why I feel passionate about it. I was given the opportunity to become more part of the community by forming a peer group, and since I've done that, this is my community. This is a group for vulnerable and disadvantaged people, such as those with mental health issues, to the elderly, homeless or ethnic minorities. The idea is that we have an environment where people can come in for a tea and a coffee and a chat, and they can actually do various things, like if they're interested in art, we're starting a mosaic project with Richard, the sculptor. We do various other different art projects. We're doing a writing group where people, if they're interested in writing, they can come and sit and write newsletters, articles, things for the paper. We've got internet access, and then hopefully people that have skills here can develop them more and also show us what skills they've got. So everyone can become a learner and everyone can become a teacher. No one gets paid in our project. We're all personally responsible for ourselves. It's all service user led. We raise all our funding ourselves and we put it to good use. We're very careful with it. If we have a leaflet, we design it ourselves. We're cost effective, and I think that's what's empowering us, is that we're doing it ourselves, we're having fun doing it, we're having a good time. This for me is something rewarding because I can see the results, the satisfaction I get from being in an environment where we're all working together in a mutual way, because part of Intentional Peer Support Group is that we are mutual and that we all validate each other's opinions, respect them, challenge each other, and I think what I get from that is teamwork and a satisfaction that I'm working around people that are very passionate of how they feel and are wanting to change their lives, and that is so special. And to see people progress out of a stuck place is wonderful.
When you're homeless and you've got nowhere to go and you think, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Who's going to help me? It's not my fault I'm in this situation. I'm just trying to get somewhere to help myself move on, but it's like you're banging right against a brick wall. And well, sometimes you feel like doing silly things, and because of the problems what I had, and I couldn't seem to get all the bad vibes that I had out of my head. And I suppose the only way I got it was to bottom of a bottle. But then that's the only way of going to sleep when it's freezing cold, and getting a sleeping bag, had a few beers, and that's it. Boom.
Once you're actually on the streets and things are difficult and you feel isolated, you're going to congregate more with people in the same position, the same boat as you are, because you feel safe and not looked down on. And with the best will in the world, those people got their own problems.
Like, I've been on my own, and I've got beat up a couple of times because I was on my own. And but when you're in a group of people, you haven't got that fear factor as well.
I mean, it must be horrendous for youngsters, and especially women that are on their own. That's isolation of being alone at night is massive. You'd have to be someone really, really special that said they didn't care at night about being on their own or sleeping on their own. I was landscaping in Wellington. I was living in quite a nice 4-bedroom house. Then I had a relationship breakdown after about 13 years with a woman, which led to me being evicted from the house. From that point on, really, I was homeless until I came across TAH and basically started to sort of rebuild my life. And because one of the biggest things being homeless or on the streets is getting right out of the system and being isolated. And the more isolated you are, the more isolated you become. The fact that Linley House is in Taunton with an involvement, a big involvement with the Taunton Dean Council,
very big,
just says something. We do have that in Taunton, where we are lucky because there's a lot of places you can be homeless. There's no assistance whatsoever, nothing at all.
Nothing. Just get brushed away. That's how I personally feel myself.
I think a big advantage of TAH, and especially Linley House, it's one of the only hostels that you can actually stay in 24 hours, if you like, or for an agreed period of time. But also, it's one of the only hostels that I know of, and certainly in the sort of direct area, that it's not just a night shelter. You're also more or less given a home. The availability as well to volunteer to work is completely down to you. You know, as a resident in the hostel, I mean, everybody's got that opportunity.
Because I love working in the kitchen. I do the kitchen like basically every day, about 9 to 6:30. I have a good laugh with the staff, and plus it's also given me food hygiene, health safety. I've done those courses, so that's helped me when I've gone for a job.
I do a different side. I'm helping on sort of the removal side, moving residents when they get to a position, moving into a small flat on their own. It certainly keeps me busy. My confidence is massive to what it was sort of a year ago, 2 years ago. Amongst my plans, I've tied in to still I want to be able to support TAH in some capacity to help other people that are coming up through and maybe experience the same things that I've experienced, and to give that bit back to TAH.
But you know, you're doing it because you're open out, because they've helped you out. So what goes round comes round, I say.
I have lived here in England for 34 years. The Filipino nurses and carers who come over, if they have personal problems, work-related problems, they used to ask us advice and opinions on what they're gonna do.
We found the Filipinos were quite isolated because working broken shifts and things like that, and we felt that they were just like an invisible army of carers.
So we decided, well, Michael here decided, why don't we put up an organization of not only Filipinos but other carers as well who will want to join us. Having an organization like Alpha gives these individuals a voice.
And by also having this organization, they became more of a part of the local community. We felt that if we could get them together, we would get them involved in their own culture and even performing cultural events in the homes that they were working in. So the residents of the nursing homes could see a different side to them rather than just being, you know, as carers, like, you know, they could see that they come from quite a sophisticated culture, and they really appreciated us bringing in armchair culture, if you could say, like into their living spaces, like, you know.
They accept them as somebody who has a personality and who has a culture and who has talents. We find that by sharing our culture, like music, dance, food, and songs to the local community, it is a positive way of integrating with the rest of the community, the host country. And because it is a fun way of breaking down barriers, social and cultural barriers,
social cohesion.
we find that we are readily accepted.
We've also had like Filipinos working in local factories, and where they had a bit of discrimination in that, we were able to kind of represent them, because in a lot of these factories there was no trade union representation.
Most of the time, actually all the time, that we have represented them, we have been successful.
We've been very successful.
And we
yes,
think
yeah.
it's because they belong to an organization. We want to expand, and we are expanding because we believe that our project, our caring, sharing project, is a fun way of breaking down social and cultural barriers.
When we moved into the village, we were very impressed by the friendliness and how people were prepared to come round and help you move in or whatever, and were pleased when you did something which helped them. And I think that's all part of village life, really. Caring for everyone else, keeping an eye on them.
For my sins, I'm the chairman of the Sevington Shop Association, which I've been involved with for the last 5 years. Our parish council undertook a survey, and one of the things that came high up on the list was a desire to re-establish two things. Re-establish one, which was a shop, and the other was to establish a social centre of the village, which eventually turned into the cafe where we are now. We worked out on the basis that any grant giver wanted the community to make its own contribution, and while some of that could be in kind, most of it had to be in money to prove resolve, really. So we did the normal things you do in a village to raise money, events and things of that nature, draws, but the biggest component of it was a bond scheme. That and the other events raised £40,000.
Yes, it went. Obviously, it took some time to do this, but it's still almost ongoing, because we still are looking to raise money to help the shop. I got involved because I'm keen on doing things. I'm a retired person now, and I'm interested in the community.
If you look at the volunteers that man it, they cover every age from the village, from children upwards. The youngsters who are perhaps doing this as helping here as part of the public service part of their Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme, for example, the 15-year-old girl will be here this afternoon when school's over. She'll do from 4:30 till 6, a couple of days a week. So people fit it in where they can. The biggest difficulty, I think, is changing people's mindsets. They wanted the village shop, there's no question of that. But when it comes to using it, they're so used to getting in the car and going to Ilminster, they never think to come here in some cases. Some do, some don't. But over a period of time, we'll break that habit. And we have to break that habit by having events that draw them in, that reminds them we're here.
You see people come into the shop for the first time, you engage them in conversation, you show them what you've got, and you hope that you can persuade them that it's a good place to meet people and to extend their circle of friends.
Through the shop, what we're trying to do is create more of a social centre, because the village lost its school some years ago. So the mums who are here isolated with children don't get to meet at the school gate like they used to, or if they do, they're meeting people from other villages. We've had people at sort of opposite corners of the village meeting up and finding they've got common interests and becoming friends through it. So it has achieved an enormous social function. So community integration for me is a big driver.
The feedback from people that visit the shop is tremendous. I think projects like this are great and we all need it.
My community is Taunton, and I think it's a lot of people, a good life that you want to create in there. And I just think it's working together to make what you want, like Taunton, I'd like to see it continue to be a super place to live, and it's working together to achieve that. I volunteer at the moment for Taunton Voluntary Action. I got involved first through the Townswomen's Guild. They needed a representative from a women's organisation to sit on the committee many years ago, and I have been working with them now for 5 years, I think it is. And what I do there is that I am the finance coordinator, but I also do oversee the CRB department as well, and I do about 3.5 days a week. And I enjoy it very much. You get to know lots of people, and we have a good team working there. Anyone, especially those that have retired and been very busy for many years in a job, I think it's great if they went and volunteered, because you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. But I think it gives you companionship, friendships, and I think it gives you skills, and it certainly makes us happy. We have a good laugh. I think youngsters who come and volunteer, if they haven't got a job, come along and volunteer. See what other people are doing, see what they can do to help, which is all part of the community. I was surprised when I came down here to find how much voluntary work people did. I think when you meet people, especially if you know that they're feeling a bit isolated, and you can encourage them to come along, take them along to see what they can do. I'm always promoting among people like myself who perhaps are on their own, but I think everybody has a voice in the community if you want to use it. I mean, that's by getting involved and having your say that things get done. And people, I mean, councillors and that won't know how you feel unless you actually tell them. I'm concerned that this big society that we're talking about, that everybody thinks they're going to get something for nothing, and volunteering has to be paid for. Even our people that volunteer in the office, they get their travelling expenses, so it's not something that you can do for nothing. But I hope that we can carry on, and that we get a little bit of respect too. A strong community, probably in the short term, is caring for each other, looking out for each other. I live in a block of flats, and we all look out for each other, helping each other. Just simple things really, and it pulls you all together.